Welcome to One Insight. My name is Litvin. I grew up in London and I now live in LA. And this is a podcast for extraordinary top performers and their coaches. You see, I've coached some of the most successful and talented people on the planet. I can see what most people cannot see, and I dare to say what most people wouldn't dare to say. And what I know about success is that on the other side of it, it can be incredibly lonely. You can feel more of an imposter the more successful you become. And when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're actually in the wrong room. Clients who are more successful, more intelligent, and wealthier than you need your support more than they know and more than you can imagine. I coach around insight. Life looks one way, something happens, and the world looks different, and your entire world changes. It can happen in an instant. And this podcast is called One Insight because a single insight can change everything.
In a moment, you're going to hear me talking to Ashley. Ashley was most recently the head of global events at Amazon Advertising. 20-year career in marketing, working with big name organizations from the NBA to iHeartMedia to Amazon. She's a storyteller. Think about this. When we're telling our story to the world, it's so close to us, it's really, really hard to see. And I draw out from her parts of her story that go back to being a little child, and she sees what it's cost her. She can't see the advantages of this. And it's really fun to have her, to watch and feel the impact of this on her as I draw out her story. And I leave her with a powerful way to articulate what she does in the world that will help her really define who her clients are. Enjoy this conversation, play it out for yourself as I ask the questions here, as if I'm asking them of you, and how would you answer them for yourself? All right, this was really fun for me. Enjoy it. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Rich. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, and I'm thrilled you said yes to being with me today, because I wanted to see if we can draw out some of your story and articulate it in a way that maybe you haven't even seen it before.
Love that. Yeah, I'm very excited about this call.
Cool. So take me back through your career a little bit. Give me a little bit of story about what you were doing. You literally just transitioned into coaching very recently. So what was the most recent career? Tell me about your career.
Yeah, it was just a few weeks ago, actually. I was with Amazon. I was overseeing global events for Amazon Advertising, and then left them a few weeks ago to transition into coaching full-time.
How long were you with Amazon for?
Amazon was about a year and a half. But I had been working in marketing partnerships, strategic marketing sponsorships for about 18 years. Amazon was shorter than I expected because I stumbled on my love for coaching and wanted to make the transition. But it was a great place, tons of learning.
I bet. Tell me about global events. What does that mean?
So global events is how we would use our event platforms and event marketing as a go-to-market channel to drive revenue, drive sales, engage with customers. We were a very online brand, and so it was very important to have those touch points in person and build the relationships with our customers directly as well. So it was looking globally at the landscape and understanding in each market, in each country, what do our customers need from us, and how can we use events as one of those platforms to engage and deliver what they need.
Nice to hear, actually, on a personal note, that a brand that is so involved online actually understands the power of people, which is what really happens.
Very much so. I really respected that when I was talking with them about the role, and respect them as a company overall. So, they have a good mindset behind it.
So now tell me back, there's a 20-year journey in here, marketing partnerships. Just tell me back to about previous companies you worked for. Why marketing? Yeah, tell me.
And marketing, I love, I kind of fell in love with the storytelling and the first part of marketing than I more fell in love with. I started in PR, and that didn't really feel like the right fit. And there was a lot of crossover between PR and marketing. So I was learning about marketing, and then I really enjoyed marketing partnerships and sponsorships. Most of my career was in sports and entertainment. So I worked with the NBA earlier in my career. I worked in soccer. Before Amazon, I was overseeing marketing solutions for events and event marketing with iHeartMedia. So I love the idea of bringing a brand and a property together, the partnership that you could create through that and the value you could provide to a consumer or customer by kind of cross-pollinating across the brand identities. I just had fun in that sort of puzzle with the partnership. And a lot of that is strategy. And then you have teams that more run the execution of it once it's developed. And I really lean to the strategy side the most.
The word that made my ears prick up just then in the middle of that was the word puzzle.
Yeah, I like puzzles.
Yeah, I see you light up right now as I say that to you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you look for the puzzle and ways to bring people and ideas and stories together to solve that puzzle.
Yeah, it's funny. And I don't even think until later in my career I looked for that. I think that things sort of have always sort of appeared. I'm very visual in how I learn. I learned that in school with auditory learning is a little more challenging for me. I would go back and write everything down and then use different colors. And I think I heard you talk about something like that similarly too. But as soon as I would write it down and see it visually, I remembered it. And that kind of transferred to seeing different pieces of things visually. I would just sort of see how they fit together. And that was really beneficial in partnerships because some of the partnerships are really complicated, like the larger integrated partnerships. So it helped people to clearly see how they could align and support each other.
Take me back in time. You're around about 6 years old. What would we see if we had a little camera on little Ashley right now?
Yeah, it's funny. So no, I'll be honest, I cheated a bit because I had heard you ask this question before and I remembered some, but my mom is amazing. I knew she would have a much more vivid memory than I did. The part that I remembered was that I loved just being with my friends and my brother, and I loved friends that were different from me. I only remember that because a teacher for the first time called out that my two best friends were of different race and different culture backgrounds. I didn't understand what that meant at the time, but then after that, it stuck with me a little bit. But one of the main things my mom had said, and I remembered it after she mentioned it, was that in sixth grade, I was, when I was 6 in first grade, I was performing above the class to the point where they weren't really sure what to do with me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not good at saying things like that. But there was a student that came in from Venezuela that didn't speak English, and they paired me with her. And I ended up working with her. I would do my schoolwork, and then we would spend a lot of time in the hall and working together. And I helped her to learn English and do all of her coursework by the end of the year. And it's so funny because I just remember her being one of my best friends, and I loved spending time with her, and I found her so interesting. But there was actually another motivation. So I think a lot of it was just, I like connection with people. And then the other side of it was I loved being alone. If I wasn't around people, like in class or hanging with friends, I was constantly by myself playing. I really liked just alone time playing. I found it peaceful, still do.
Nice. Me too. You at 6 years old were teaching someone else.
I guess so. Yeah.
I'm curious, has there been a theme of you being a teacher for other people throughout your life?
Yeah, there has actually. And there's also been a theme of curiosity about things that are different. I study languages. So I speak Spanish. I learned it when I lived in Spain. And then I'm studying French now. I'm conversational in it. And then I've studied a little bit of German and Italian. I want to learn all the Romance languages. I just love again, they feel kind of like puzzles, I think, that I love what they unlock when you live in a country and a culture in that language versus when you don't. But I think also the teaching thing I like, and we had talked about this very briefly. It came up and when we were at the deep dive, but I hadn't thought of it in this way, but I like understanding how people learn. I find it interesting how different people learn in different ways. And so I found myself, especially as I started managing teams, teaching a lot, but a lot of that teaching was more leaning into how are they going to digest information, which again is a little bit of a puzzle, I guess. It's kind of fun. And I've played my own theme a little.
You sure are. This is great. Yeah, I mean, if teamwork could be put into a formula, everyone would have great teams, but all over the world throughout human history, people have struggled to build, to lead, to motivate teams. What I'm hearing that your gift is that you love to understand how people learn. And if you know how people learn, you can find out what inspires them, what excites them, what holds them back, how to teach them in a way that they can receive. There's real power in that.
Yeah, I think so. And even more so than how they learn, also just how they work, which in turn is how they learn. But it's very interesting to me. I just love all of my friends are very different than me. I just love differences. I find it so interesting. And that comes with, if everyone's so different, they're also going to learn and digest information differently. And so that's why I think when people have a blanketed approach or management approach, it's very challenging because you can't blanket something on a bunch of different people that all comprehend and learn and digest things differently.
It's a really good catch. Most of the time, people are trying to, like, how do I make my message so simple that everyone can get it? And it's really, this is the way things have to be done in our organization. This is the marketing pitch we've got out to the world, and it's done for people like me. But what I'm hearing about you is you look for differences, so you understand how people learn, how they think, how they work, and how they receive messages when you're looking in the marketing side.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Oh.
But this is fun already. I'm already seeing things. I can see you seeing things.
Yeah.
Tell me a couple of your headlines, a couple of stories. So you've got to put humility to one side for this one. A couple of things that, you were known for and actually you're proud of. And maybe you might not talk about it out loud to most people, but I work with this organization. This is what we added to the bottom line. I work with this team. This is the results we created. Tell me a couple of your headlines.
Yeah, I think one from Amazon I was really proud of was actually from team management, because it's a challenging environment from a standpoint of you're a sole contributor, which means no one is also doing the work you're doing on your team, but you're also managing teams. And we get rated, our team management, randomly every 1 to 2 weeks. There's a system that we all answer questions for. And I was ranked the highest manager on our team for a consistent period of time, which that one to me was huge because it was difficult to balance, but your team's in a critical point in their career when they're managers, senior managers, directors, and I think developing them is a huge responsibility. And so even though I had a lot on my plate from a work standpoint, it was important to me to make sure that I was helping to develop them. So I think that was definitely a big one. I think I'll find
before you move
on.
I can tell you're really proud of that.
Yeah. I mean, I would want someone to do that for me. It's easy. I saw a lot of managers, and it's okay. And with Amazon, and this is not at all a bad thing, but sole proprietor and your work comes first, because we hire people that should need a ton of management, but there's a development piece that I think is really important. And so, yeah, I was proud of the impact because I could hear and feel that from them. Yeah, it made me happy.
That's great. That's great. Tell me another one, another story.
So iHeartMedia, I think, would be another one. So my team created the strategy around how we sold sponsorships for all of our event platforms and our award show. So all the big Jingle Ball concerts, programs, everything that we did. And so when I was there, I contributed to over 90 million in revenue. Now that's a team effort. We didn't break out by person in that, but my team had a huge impact on revenue generation by building the stories around our event marketing platforms and then selling them to consumers in a way where there was just that perfect fit with how they wanted to experience our brand and our products. So it was a proud moment to generate that much revenue and benefit the company in that way, support the company in that way. So I think that was another great one that, I was really proud of.
I love it. I bet. And I love that you are so quick to acknowledge the team. You don't miss out in that team in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of team in it, though. I think it's tough. Obviously, my role is to help lead and guide a lot of it from a strategy standpoint and give feedback and help push them in the right direction. But it's definitely a team effort with, I think, anything once you get to VP and above. And a lot of times before that, there are a lot of people involved in making something a success.
Yeah. I'm also noting, I should say, because there are many leaders who forget that or miss that. And the paradox is that both are true. The team can't do it without the leader, and the leader can't do it without the team. Some leaders just dismiss the team and acknowledge, like, hey, I contributed an extra $90 million of revenue to this organization I was part of, and they miss something out. It speaks to who you are and how you see people and why team is so important.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell me, what have you struggled with for most of your life? What's the one thing that's held you back for most of your life, actually?
This one's interesting because I've been diving into it more as I was introduced to coaching this past year. I think the biggest thing is some of the attention that sometimes comes with accomplishment. I'm not someone who loves the spotlight or loves attention. And so I've, more than I realized probably in the past, have understood that in the past I've stepped back from things, or I've done great to an extent where people are excited and proud, and I'm proud of myself, but I haven't gone quite as far as I could have because I didn't want the attention around it. And so it's something when I look back after having that awareness, I noticed was a pretty decent theme, a lot bigger than I would like it to be. So I think, and I didn't know
as I hear it. Let me reflect this back, because it's interesting. I'm always fascinated by the dark side of people's gifts. So we'll come on to that. But here, what I'm hearing is that there's a beautiful side of a challenge. So a challenge you're articulating, what's held you back is the most is, I don't love the spotlight, I don't love attention. Well, the gift of that, no wonder you've been such a great leader, even just now, acknowledging the team. The person who doesn't want the spotlight is going to be actually an amazing leader in some ways. Where's it cost you, though?
Which part? Not wanting the spotlight or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's cost me a lot, I'm sure, on what I've achieved. And that's challenging to look at because I don't want to diminish what I've achieved. And I'm very proud of what I have. And I also don't want, if I would ever say that out loud, people to think that I didn't give my all, because that definitely wasn't it. I was fully committed to the level of awareness that I could be. But I think I'm sure it's cost me in terms of how far I've gone and what I've accomplished. It's held me back.
Because
I haven't tried as hard as I could to. I always stopped a little bit. I remember the first time I did it, and this was through coaching, it was in elementary school, where I started purposely getting some questions wrong because I was getting some slack from the kids for always getting the hundreds. And I think I didn't realize that was a pattern, but I think that continued in a lot of ways, where I would do good. I'd still get a 95. I didn't want to not do good, but I would dumb it down a little bit so that I could do good and succeed, but not have unwanted attention, because I just wanted to do it. I didn't want the attention from doing it, which is a challenging balance at times, and also something I need to work on.
Well, it's a powerful insight. In Australia, they have a phrase, tall poppy syndrome. Don't get too big. Don't show off too much. Let's be honest, throughout most of human history, everything you've just shared, the reason that you would purposely get things wrong is, throughout most of human history, if you shone too much, if you got too much attention, you'd probably die. I mean, that's the truth of it. The tribe would be upset. They'd throw you out of the tribe. You'd have to fight with somebody. You might die. For most of human history, any of your ancestors who were super bright, super sharp, loved to help people, loved to do things well, and loved the attention from it, probably didn't get to pass their genes on in the gene.
Yeah, it's funny to think of it that way. And honestly, it makes me feel better to think of it in terms like that versus there's, some crazy fear there.
Well, yeah, it's not a crazy fear. It's a fear of death. That's what's deep inside of you, because it's been programmed by hundreds of generations of being human. If I shine too brightly, I might get too much attention and I might die. I mean, let's be honest, even in 2020, there are people who, when they shine brightly, the attention goes on them, the media, whatever it is, their life can be in danger in all sorts of different ways. So even today, it's very true. So what I'm doing is making sense of what feels a little crazy in your mind. Why did I always dumb myself down? Why did I not want to shine bright enough? Why did I always stop a little bit short? It wasn't crazy at all. Your entire system is designed to keep you safe, and it has done. That's why you're here.
I like that side of it.
Yeah. Let's go to the other side for a moment. What are a couple of your biggest gifts? What were you known for? What were your gifts?
So I've still been diving into that some. I think definitely one of them is connecting with people. I think part of it is that part where I find people really interesting. And so I look at not on purpose, but kind of look at those different ways that I can connect with them, because I find it interesting to find where we have something in common, et cetera, to understand them. So I think there's a people piece there and a connection piece there. I also think solving problems, pretty complex problems, just seeing things and understanding how they fit together is a big part of it. Those are kind of the two that are more on my radar after diving into things this past year.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm always fascinated by complex problems. There are simple problems which everyone wants to solve. There are complicated problems. You can bring in all sorts of strategists, but complex problems, not many people can play that game. And it seems to really turn you on. It's that story of being fascinated by puzzles all your life. Your eyes are lighting up right now.
Yeah, it's funny. It shouldn't, right? It's like not the most fun thing in the world if you think about a complex problem. But I find it really interesting how you get all of the different pieces to work and fit together. It's fun. My brain just kind of runs on its own trying to figure it out. And I think that process is so fun.
Right. Well, it's not fun if it's a complex problem and it's not how you think. But your visual, I see you, it's one of those movies from 10 years ago where they start moving these things around on this screen in front of them. We haven't quite got that technology yet, but you do that in your head, moving these things around, because what looks complex is what you have is high level complex pattern recognition. You see things that other people can't see. But then it looks complex for you. It looks like, well, do that here, put this here, bring these two people together here, put that opportunity there. Wow. And the result is an extra $90 million for the organization.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps. It's kind of funny because I don't think I've started to recognize that one as something that comes more naturally, but I don't think I've looked at it in that way. It's hard for me to see it as something that people don't do since my brain works that way. Do you know what I mean? I struggle with that one.
Yeah, well, that's why I want to reflect it back to you so you can hear it in a way.
Yeah.
It's just what you do. You can't see it. You're too close to it. It also gives me a clue. I'm going to ask you this in a second about the kind of people you want to work with as a coach. You're not going to be interested or turned on if someone says, hey, I've got time management issues. I need an accountability to get to the gym and lose a bit of weight. It's going to bore the heck out of you. You're going to want to work with people who either have complex problems or are trying to solve complex problems.
Yeah, definitely. And I've thought a lot about that. I mean, I'm smiling as you're saying that because I think a big part of coaching for me is, obviously I love what I've experienced with it. And I truly believe in the impact and power it has to change people's lives. But also a big part of the shift for me professionally is that I want to work in something I'm extremely passionate about and very intentional in terms of the people that I work with. And I agree. I think the high performance route and even potentially working with professional athletes, working in that space where people are, continually challenging themselves and like that challenge and like trying to figure things out and just want that other little window or insight to help them. I find it really, really interesting.
Tell me about the dark side of that gift. You can solve complex problems in a way that nobody else can. What's the dark side of that?
Yeah, there's a very easy dark side of that one that I've actually spent a ton of time working on. I think the first part of working with people and trying to understand them helped quite a bit, but it's then communicating and articulating and helping to other people to understand what you're seeing or help other people understand why it makes sense. That happened a lot throughout my career because I could see something and understand maybe why a department should be structured differently or why a program should be built a certain way, but it wasn't always very easy to articulate that because it wasn't always based on data. It was just based on what made sense to me, but it, 9 times out of 10, sometimes 10 times out of 10, it worked well, but it was tough to convey that. So I think the tough side is that if you are seeing something some people don't see, just like other people see things you can't see, how do you properly articulate that to get the most out of it? And I still work on that.
And I'd be prepared to bet that you're really good at helping others do that, though.
Very funny. I hadn't thought about that. Yes, I actually am really good at that. I've done that a ton with my team.
Nice. So often we teach what we most need to learn because it's easy to see in others. We can't do it for ourselves. But absolutely, you have this high level complex problem. You see a solution immediately. it looks like intuition because you're not even using data. It's actually high-level complex pattern recognition. You're seeing things others can't. But how do you explain to somebody? If you see a solution up here and their thinking is down here, how they can't understand you. You're speaking different languages. In fact, it makes sense that you learn so many different languages. It's part of this whole thing that you do. Well,
That's interesting. Yeah.
it is. Tell me, what's the dark side? This ability you have to connect to people, you find people really interesting. What's the dark side to that?
Yeah, I think there's some pretty decent dark sides with that, to be honest. I think sometimes with that, I think I can sometimes understand some sides of people they might not want me to understand, or they might be trying to hide. And that can be great. And that can also be tough because you need to, and if I think of this outside of coaching, just even personal relationships, if I'm seeing and understanding and sensing something about someone that, they're not ready to discuss, or I have to be very careful about how I approach the conversation or how I bring that in, or what, even if I do. And so that can be tough because a lot of times I'm a pretty direct personality and I prefer direct conversation and honesty. And so there's that line you have to walk of being respectful if your insights are telling you something that someone didn't maybe want to. So I think that's definitely a big one.
Yeah, well, that one. Do you know who you want to work with? Or it's just really the beginnings of flickers of an idea?
Or beginnings. I'm working through it now. Yeah, more beginning.
Right. Well, let's see what happens when I do what comes next, and we'll see what lands. So I've got all pages of notes in front of me. I'm going to see where this goes as I reflect this back to you. So just let it wash over you and see what lands. All right. What most people know about Ashley is that most recently she was head of global events at Amazon for Amazon advertising. She's been involved in marketing partnerships for almost 20 years, sponsorships from the NBA to soccer to iHeartMedia. One of the teams that she worked with and led at iHeartMedia, involved in strategy for sponsorship and concerts, generated over $90 million in revenue. And the team that she led in Amazon, she was personally ranked as the highest manager on the team for the scores over a significant period of time. Which speaks to the two sides of what's important to Ashley. One is making a difference to the bottom line. It's fun to see a really tangible impact to the work that you do. And the other's making a difference to people and people's lives. Back when Ashley was 6 years old, she was fascinated by the kids who were different from her. She was always a high performer. In fact, she was doing so well at 6 that the teachers didn't know what to do with her. They actually had to try and engage her by having her help one of the children who didn't really speak English. At 6 years old, Ashley was teaching other people. What she's also been doing from that young age is solving puzzles. She loves puzzles. She comes alive when there's a puzzle. She's very visual. She sees colors. She sees how things fit together. What we call that, when we understand it, is high-level complex pattern recognition. But when you don't see that, it looks like magic. Ashley's got a gift at connecting with people, although at times she can be desperate to have alone time to get a sense of peace back again. She has an intense curiosity about how things are different. She's learning and mastering 5 different languages. You see, even learning a language is a puzzle that can unlock a country and a culture and experiences that you couldn't have if you hadn't solved that puzzle. Ashley loves differences. She loves to understand how people learn and how people work and teams. And she's been driven by a secret for much of her life. She doesn't love the spotlight and she doesn't love attention. In fact, at elementary school, she learned at a really young age to purposely get things wrong so she didn't stand out too much. And whilst on the inside, she feels that's cost her a lot, she always stopped a little bit before she was able to, before she needed to. Ashley's a woman who's helped build incredible teams as a leader because there's a gift in not hogging the spotlight. There's a gift in being willing to put other people on the podium and acknowledge them. This fascination with people and connecting with people because she finds them so interesting has a dark side, because Ashley loves to be direct and honest. It's one of her gifts. And sometimes, particularly in the personal world, being that direct and honest can be challenging. Except now, Ashley is a coach and a consultant to very successful people. And one of the things super successful people love more than anything else is someone who can look them in the eyes and be really direct and really honest, and say what needs to be said. Unlike most people, Ashley's eyes light up when there's a complex problem to solve, because she understands how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. The challenge of that in her career was that it could be really difficult to articulate. You see a problem without even having all the data to your fingertips. You just understand what the solution is. Articulating it to others can be challenging. Except now, as a coach and a consultant to leaders who solve complex problems, one of her gifts is that she can help you to articulate the things that you see that are so obvious to you to the people who don't yet see them at the level that you do. Ashley's clients are high performers like she is. They often have a secret they've hidden that, despite all the acknowledgement of the people around them, they're not actually playing as big as they know they could. They continually challenge themselves, but there's a place where they hold just a little bit back and nobody can see it. And they need someone who understands them, understands their unique challenges, and isn't afraid to tell them what they most need to hear. If you love to solve complex problems, if you have a challenge in articulating complex solutions to people in your team, you need Ashley as your trusted advisor in the next stage of your journey.
Wow. I'm doing the same thing. Wow. There were a lot of dots that I had not connected throughout that. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
No, I'm smiling because I can see once again there are not many words. And let me reflect back to you. I do what you do. I see a complex issue and I'm pulling the little pieces and pulling the threads together, and I can articulate it in a way that has somebody go, wow, and there are not many words behind it, because the truth of it all just goes and falls into place. We play the same game in different ways for different reasons. This is what you do. And so as you continue on this path for the next stage of your career as a coach and a consultant and a trusted advisor, and I use those three words advisedly. Coaching, most coaches make the mistake of thinking coaching is a label. It's a tool you can pull out of your backpack when you need it. You have these skills to be a high-level consultant. You have the skills to be a high-level coach and a trusted advisor to high-level leaders. That's who you are, the kind of leaders who solve complex problems. Those are your people.
Love it. I love it.
If you're watching the video, you can see the big beaming smile on Ashley's face right now. If you're listening, you can probably hear it. So we're there, actually. There's nothing more to do or say in this moment. We'll speak again at some point. But for this moment, thank you so much for trusting me, which is really beautiful to articulate you into the world.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
For most of human history, it wasn't called coaching, it was called leadership. And it's what I love to do, to coach people, to lead people, and to mess with people's thinking. If you'd like more of this, or if you'd like to learn more about our community of extraordinary top performers, go to richlitvin.com/oneinsight.